It's the start of a new month. It's December. Can you believe it? We're in the home stretch of 2022, and racing today takes us back to the Vaal on the back of racing out there on Tuesday. I thought Tuesday's card went pretty much according to plan, but I must confess this card is a real challenge. It's really tricky. There are 9 races on the card, with the first getting underway at 12:05, which means the bar pot begins at 25-1 in race number 2. The place accumulator kicks off in race 3 at 1:10. Pick 6 starts in the 4th race at 1:45. Then race 5 starts the first jackpot at 20:02, and the second jackpot begins at 10-3. The 9th and last race gets underway, all things being equal, at 20:04. Like I said, a real challenging card at the Vaal on this Thursday. What I am going to confess is that my place accumulator, I'm more hopeful than optimistic. But with that said, I am most definitely taking the place accumulator that I'm going to recommend. Punters obviously have the opportunity to cut and also add where they need to. I did cut a lot of my place accumulator, if I'm honest. But all in all, I think that the place accumulator is going to pay north of 100 Rand. And I'm hoping that we can perhaps catch it, and maybe even with a bit of luck, double up as the meeting goes on. Right, so what do we have for you on today's card? Well, the first race is not part of the exotics, and as we have a look at everything that is being disseminated for you in race number 1, the most interesting runner is the horse coming off arrest, number 10, Damned If I Do, from the Roy Magnus stable. Muzieni takes the ride. On debut, was a fair debut behind Rose for Trippy. She's done okay as Rose for Trippy subsequently, but her debut screamed next time she runs, she'll be a huge chance. She's a well-bred daughter of Trippy, the mother, Miss Tweedy, and was well performed. This is the next time. The concern is coming 184 days since her debut. So obviously the report of not striding out is a little bit more serious than what meets the eye. Fitness needs to be taken on trust, but Roy Magnus can get them fit. So huge respect for number 10, Damned If I Do. A horse that I like going back down the straight in the first race is number 2, Above the World. Marco van Rensburg takes the ride for Corne Spies. Last time around the bend, I just don't think she handled it. It was her first time around the turn, first time on the Turpentine inside track. She didn't raise a gallop. Maybe the run also came a bit too soon, just 4 days apart from her penultimate start, which was a good run behind Little Miss Moneybags when going close. I don't think it's a race that'll take much winning, especially if number 10, Damned If I Do, is a run short. So I think number 2, Above the World, is worth a chance. Her best start came over the course and distance when finishing second. Fine, she had 51 kilos on her back, but she finished second behind Wings of Nike, who has won subsequently. Now, the first race on the card, another interesting runner, number 16, Zoe Alexander from Zimbabwe. 2 nice runs north of the Limpopo. Now, let's see how she goes on her local introduction. Race number 2 on the card is the first leg of the bipot. At 25-1 is Off Time. This is the World Sports Betting Grand Heritage 10 December classified stakes over the rare distance of 2,800 meters. You don't see too many of these at the Vaal. And I think number 2, Flag Bearer's participation has got to be a question mark after he won on Tuesday. Horse to beat is number 1, Royal Mazarin. Calvin Habib takes the ride here for Joey Soma. Good last run behind Al Fatik, who ran in the Racing Association, the Stayers race on Summer Cup Day. Royal Mazarin, I think, is pretty much well set up. I know it's been 408 days since his last win, but I think he's found the right opportunity to get the job done. The pace of the race is obviously going to be a concern, but it wouldn't surprise me to see number 1, Royal Mazarin, go forward, and he could prove tough to peg back if things are pretty straightforward out in front. A horse that I always like, a horse that I always follow, is number 3, Global Breeze. On the run on the 6th of November, though, Global Breeze is quite well held, especially by Go Dream Machine. So maybe that gives number 6, Go Dream Machine, a bit of a sniff. But I think number 1, Royal Mazarin, is one of the main horses that punters can follow on today's card at the Vaal. Then we go on to race number 3. This is the first leg of the place accumulator at 1:10. Tab4racing.com maiden plate over 1,000 meters. A fairly big field, and a field that has a bit of form to work with. So I think this could be a form line that punters can follow ultimately. Who's going to win? I bank number 1, Treamici, in my place accumulator. Muzi Yeni rides for Robbie Sage. Robbie Sage's stats are always good. He's having a few winners as usual. Last start just got collared late behind Tanganga. Form is working out okay. And I just think this horse has been knocking hard on the door, and this is probably the right opportunity for him to get the job done. It's certainly not one-way traffic for the win. I think Tramichi is good enough, and well, I've banked him in the place accumulator, so happy enough to think that he'll run into the first three. But horses who will have chances of getting in there, perhaps work around these for trifectas, quartets, and swingers. 2 Vaal Park, 3 Fort Apache, 8 Iron Sky. And then also number 11, Siberian Steel. But Siberian Steel has got a little bit to find to reverse with number 1, Tramichi, out of that Tanganga form line. So I expect that to hold. And maybe number 15, United We Stand, with a sex allowance, could also be a horse that earns in race number 3. Race number 4 is the first leg of the pick 6 out at the Vaal. I think you're going to need quite a few horses if you are playing your pick 6s. Number 1 on the card, Stroke of Mercy, is definitely worth another chance. Corey Lensley is the trainer. Muzayeni takes the ride. Last time behind Munchkin when they tried Blinkers. Blinkers are on for the time being. I'll be interested to see if they remain on come race time. It was his worst run to date, but I also think that could be a pretty strong form line. Munchkin was all the rage on debut and then followed up subsequently. So I'm willing to give number 1, Stroke of Mercy, a chance. And then a few others that have got to come into the play for place accumulator purposes. Number 2, Stepping Out, Ryan Munger takes the ride for David Nievenhuizen. I thought his earlier form was sound. His last couple of starts haven't been all that great, but I think he's another horse that won't be a maiden much longer. 5, Phantom of the Forest, is very interesting indeed in race number 4. The reason why I say that, Joey Soma had entered him everywhere and was obviously looking for the right race. Now, this race was put on lastminute.com, this 1,300-meter maiden. One of the races didn't stand up on the card, and Joey was very, very quick to commit number 5, Phantom of the Forest, in the race. I know Red Saxon didn't run too well in the Betway Summer Cup, but a lot of other Soma horses have of late. So number 5, Phantom of the Forest, just give that a second look, dropping in distance. I think that just reading between the lines, there could be a little bit to come there. And then number 15, Nazari, I can speak out of the yard about the son of Winter. His work is excellent. His debut was slightly disappointing, but he played up badly on the float and just didn't travel to the Vaal all that well. He's gone back for schooling. He's now settled a lot, going into the float fine, going into the pens fine. So expect a much better run from number 15, Nazare. I think the connections would be quite disappointed if he didn't run a place. Not expecting him to win, but big improvements expected. And then the well-bred number 19, Winter Greeting, has also got to be a player from Sean Terry's yard, who had 4 winners on Tuesday at the Vaal. She's bred very, very nicely indeed. Then we move on to race number 5. This is the first leg of the first jackpot at 2:20. I'm keen, funny enough, on number 2, Summerland here. I think Summerland could end up being the horse to beat, just dropping in distance. Marco van Rensburg takes the ride for Corne Spies. I don't think she stayed, especially in her penultimate start last time over 2,000 meters. She got collared over the final 400 meters, but she wasn't really stopping. She was a little bit one pace at the end, but I think with an easy lead over 1,800 meters, she could be the value on the card. So race 5, number 2, Summerland, is the horse that I'm going to recommend in a wide open affair. I also think that she's fairly well exposed. She isn't going to Hollywood, but her rating just being adjusted from an 80 down to 81 rather down to a 79 might just stand her in good stead. I also have the time of day for number 3, Liverpool Legend. She's a real hard knocker. Mark Khan is up for St. John Grey, and another horse that's got to be respected is number 5, Gilda Grey. Fanny Bronkhorst and Chase Morjan team up there. Number 7, Winning Queen, was one of those horses that I took out of the place accumulator. I'm comfortable taking her out, I must be honest, because I think she's probably a little bit better when she gets to a tighter track like the inside track. But she was in the place accumulator that I initially worked out, but then when it came to too much money, I had to eliminate her. So number 2, Summerland, in race number 5, is a pretty confident place bet. I think you'll get a pretty decent price about her in the opening leg of jackpot number 1. Then on to race number 6, start of the second jackpot at 10-3. I actually quite like the look of this race, and for the right reasons as well. I've gone with number 2, Franklin, and number 7, Trump My Queen, as the two horses that I'm going to have a close look at in this race, with respect for a few, though. Number 2, Franklin, was full value for her last win. Gavin Lorena takes a ride for Erico Verdenese. When Gavin and Erico meet up, you've got to know that there's business to be done. They are very, very good mates, and Erico phones Gavin when he thinks that there's a good chance. So number 2, Franklin, respect her. She's a 5-time winner from 32 starts with very good numbers to her name. And then number 7, Trump My Queen. I think that she could be dangerous with 53 kilos on her back. Her local debut was a good one behind Bless My Stars, who granted didn't shine in the Fillies Mile about 2.5 weeks ago, nearly 3 weeks ago, actually. And then last time behind Pascal Samaray. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt for that run. That was on the back of all the rains, and Strange Magic came out and franked that form pretty emphatically yesterday at the Vaal. So I think number 7, Trump My Queen, could be well set up for Gavin van Zyl, who's enjoying winners all over the country. Another horse that would go into the pick six, or horses that would go into the pick six, for the 3-year-olds, 8 High Roller and 9 Rarotonga Rose. Both of them, I think, have got a little bit of scope to improve. And even number 3, Kind Judy, deserves a mention, going back to a more galloping track. But I'm pretty keen on number 2, Franklin, and also number 7, Trump My Queen, as PA inclusions in race number 6. Then we go into race number 7, and well, number 2, Insatiable, has been scratched. I actually made her a bit of a chance. So we're stabbing in the dark, really, with number 3, Glittering Girl. She's got to be better than her last run. 82 days off. There was obviously a lot of drama around her former trainer last time, and all the horses from the yard ran dismally. Out of that run was Feather Boa. Now, Feather Boa was really unlucky not to at least finish second in the Epitombi Challenge on Saturday. I think the form is good. I think it's strong. There are 1 or 2 disclaimers with number 3, Glittering Girl, coming off a layoff first run for the new yard, etc., etc. But I think she's a class horse of the race, and I think that she's the one to beat in race number 7. Obviously, number 5, In the Beginning, is interesting, having won her maiden on debut, beating Mighty Goddess. It was a pretty eye-catching performance. She will be tested coming to this level now, but she's been given a rating of 82. And if you compare apples with apples, I know that Southern Skies was a wide margin winner, but as Dee's mentioned on the show last week, Southern Skies was rated in the high 90s for winning a maiden, and she ran very nicely, and she's got class about her. And In the Beginning, for winning a race of similar caliber, was rated 82. And I know that obviously 7.5 lengths and half a length, 2 completely different hymn sheets. But the point is, number 5, In the Beginning, might ultimately be fairly nicely weighted. So watch the 2 of them in race number 7. Then on to the 8th race on the card. And I'm scratching my head with this race. Dancing Dora was a winner on Tuesday. Will she run? I'm not sure. At the time of recording, she was still in. So, obviously a horse winning 4 in a row and carrying the penalty that she's likely to get would be a bit of a concern. There are lots in here with chance. Number 1, Kyan the Conqueror, won a pretty warm maiden. Everything's come out and won out of that form. He could be anything, although he's got a heavy weight to carry. If he's going to be a racehorse, he ought to run well in the 8th race. Number 2, Toffers, dropping back to the sprint, could be fairly dangerous as well. I like the look of this horse, number 4, Mescal. He can go into trifectas and quartets. Farney Broncos and Nathan Klink team up with number 4, Mescal. And then down the page, I don't know how many more chances we're going to give number 10, Power Ranger, but he is going to pop up one of these days. And I think the race can be held pretty much to those horses in that leg of the pick six. 6, Integrate, always good trifecta quartet value. Just not sure he remembers how to get his head in front. He needs all the gaps. The quicker they go, and they should go quickly in the 1,200 meters at the Vaal, quicker they go, the better it'll be for number 6, Integrate. But then he also needs the right gaps because he will be coming from off the pace. And then on to the last race, 9, scratch number 1, Kalahari Blue. So he's been taken out. Does that make the race any easier? Slightly, I'd say, because I like the look of this horse, number 8, Pinch Hit, in the final race. Farney Bronkhorst, Chase Morjan team up. Last run was a good one. He stayed on, but he was bumped at a crucial stage with number 8, Pinch Hit. He's by no means a pick 6 banker. In fact, I wouldn't even go as far as to say that he's a place accumulator banker. But he could be one of the value plays on the card. Could number 8, Pinch Hit. He did hold an entry for the Grand Heritage next Saturday. That was a bit optimistic, obviously hoping that he would go through the divisions a little bit quicker than he has. But coming off that long layoff, obviously needed the 2 runs and plate race in the middle stakes and in the graduation plate. Back to a handicap last time. That was his peak run, was a better run. I think he's on the right track. And in race 9, I really like number 8, Pinchot, to run a big race. I think he could be the get-out stakes. If he doesn't win, I think that he'll run a huge race. Right, just a quick run through the place accumulator. Of course, beginning in race number 3, 216 Rand is the spend. There's numbers that open up with a banker in the form of number 1, Trey Amici. Like I said, with this place accumulator, I'm not exactly optimistic. I'm more hopeful. With this PA, add and subtract as you go along, but I do reckon that the place accumulator is going to pay good money. You might have to play it conservatively as well, but with all that said, if you do crack it right, it is going to be a memorable afternoon at the Vaal. Like I said, you don't want a place accumulator paying 10 Rand. Remember, when you're playing on the tote, you're playing against a difference of opinions. So everyone's going to have a different opinion coming into this card. There's nothing that really stands out. And if you are lucky to double up somewhere along the way, maybe even get in 4 times if you play it wide enough, then this place accumulator is going to pay absolute rockets. And then a nice little suggested bet that I've got just an aside, race 5, I've got a quartet, double float 2 and 7 by the field in race number 5, with Summerland being my main play in race 5. I think that actually could be a nice little place all to come. Race 5, number 2, Summerland, and race 9, number 8, Pinch Hit. I think if the place accumulator's looking in a bit of danger, I might take that place double just before race number 5. But that's a wrap. Of course, we've got big racing coming up this Saturday down in Cape Town, the Hollywoodbets Kenilworth course, with their first Group 1 of the Cape Summer. And it's been a great pleasure, as always. I hope that we've perhaps cleared things up when it comes to this Vaal meeting on the 1st of December. And I hope that you're in the payout queue at the end. One thing you do know, if you are there after race number 9 at the Vaal on this Thursday, the 1st of December, then you'll be collecting big.